Mayday, mayday, corners 36, emergency descent. We have run out of fuel.
Well, welcome everybody. Today we are parked at a gate in Wellington, New Zealand, and we're gonna have a 1-hour flight to Queenstown, which has a very challenging approach. Actually, it's one runway, and both approaches from both ends are quite spectacular. But we're probably going to get runway 23 today, and that should be a lot of fun. Hope I make it. It's a pretty hairy approach. Let's see. We've got our cockpit going here, just like usual. And again, we've got this new view. Let's just see our instruments a little bit better. There's the standard view with nothing, and then we have the one that I just showed you, I think, with the map in it, and here's the one with the aircraft. Today I'm going to try to remember to set this up so that the aircraft view today, we're going to give you a wing view. So you'll see it as if you were sitting in a passenger seat, just to be different today. Okay, so we are all loaded up. I just need to close the doors. Doors are closed, or closing, and we'll retract the jetway. So the flight today is about 1 hour airtime, and we are flying on Bonza. Bonza lasted just over about a year in Australian budget airline, and they had brand new MAX 8 aircraft, but they folded earlier this year, very sadly. A buddy of mine had made the custom liveries for 4 different aircraft. This one that we're looking at today is Shaza, and license registration Victor Hotel Uniform Juliet Tango. This was Bonza Airlines' first MAX 8 aircraft, and I think they had up to 4, and I have 4 of them. There were others named. It's a little bit confusing, but I think these 4, I remember it was like about a week or 2 before my my buddy who, sorry, a week or 2 before the airline announced that it was closing shop. I happened to be on Planefinder app, and it showed all 4 of these aircraft in the air over Australia. And it was Shaza, Baza, Malcolm, and Sheila, all in the air at the same time. I took a screenshot of that and sent it to my buddy who made the liveries for me. And then shortly afterwards, the announcement of the folding. Pretty sad. Okay, I'm going to start up. We're almost at pushback time, so I'm going to put one fuel pump on, and let's start up APU. Preparing to disconnect our ground power and our ground air as well. So anyway, this is a great flight. Scenery is pretty amazing, flying out of Wellington and into Queenstown. Wing view I thought would be interesting on the departure, so you can see a little bit of the east coastline of the South Island, because we're going to be flying alongside that, along our route. So let me just show you our route for that. And here's our routing today. It's a distance of 358 miles. And you can see how we're going to be hugging a lot of the coastline, and then once we're not in the coastline, like we cross over onto land at Christchurch, in about the middle of your screen. But that wing view is still going to give you cool views of mountain ranges. So as we descend, and then the descent. This is the crazy part. Our approach into Queenstown. So very snake-like, going around mountain ranges, and then you don't see the airfield until just the last couple of miles. So that's the hairy part, and it's not a long runway either. So we're not taking off from a very long runway, and we're not landing at a very long runway. So Wellington is 5,955 feet. I actually did a video, one of my videos about doing a short field performance takeoff, and it's not necessary. In fact, today we are doing a double D rate with an assumed temperature and flaps 5, but I've done a a short field takeoff with flaps 15, and also with what was it, APU on to relieve some of the, so to give the engines more power for thrust, but it's not needed. And then our landing runway is 5,830, about the same length also. While I'm looking at this, I'm going to set my landing altitude, which is 1171. Let's set that up. Okay, we're good. And our cruise altitude today is going to be flight level 340. Okay, our APU is on. I'm now getting it to power us up. So APU gen is generating. Okay, and so now we can disconnect the ground power, so which I'm doing now. And disconnecting the equipment. Okay, so there's nobody at the airport today. No ATC, which is fine. I'm just going to do a double check of the QNH. METAR QNH 1026, which I did have set. Okay, I think we are set. So looking at the chart for the airport at Wellington, we're going to be going up to the northern end of the runway and taking off southerly. So we're going to push back facing west to begin with. All right, it is time. Actually, our pushback time today was 1:35 Zulu, and it's 1:30 Zulu, so we're not too late. But we'll go ahead and go to the before start checklist first. And of course, I always forget about smart cars. That's why it's on my checklist. So I'm just pulling up smart cars, and then I'm going to start up the tracking. I fly for United Virtual, and this is going to link our flight to the United Virtual database and record my flight. Okay, that is up and running. So let's go through the rest of the before start checklist. Okay, flight deck door is closed, and the fuel, we have the correct quantity, but we'll cross check against our flight plan again. Required is 5678, and we have 5854. Okay, that's fine. That checks out. And passenger signs are on. Windows locked. Mode control panel is set. Climb initially to 10,000. Takeoff speeds are set. And pre-flight is completed. Trim has been set. Taxi, we're going to be going north and then to the north end of the runway and taking off south. Pretty straightforward. On so we're going to taxi. We're going to push back facing west, and then probably we'll go up on to the Bravo 6, and then onto Alpha going north, and then to holding point Alpha 1. Okay, and you didn't see any of that. Okay, and finally anti-collision light should be on, which we're turning it on now. Okay, before start checklist is completed, let's go ahead and call for a push. Wellington traffic. Bonza 838 out of stand 17 is pushing back shortly, facing west. Wellington traffic. It seems louder when I'm...
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Oh, the other thing is, you know, I use a music stand, which is metallic, to put my chiclet keyboards for my two computers on.
Completed.
And you can see the very corner of it,
Been inserted.
right here. I've got a bottle. It looks like a hip flask, but it's not. It's just a little bit of water in case I need it. In the case of emergency, but yeah, it looks like a whiskey bottle or something.
Locking gear.
All right. Thank you, folks. Okay, so we are going to go, in this case, nose right.
Release parking brakes, please.
Parking brakes released. So we're actually
Push.
pushing back 1
All
minute
engines
early.
Clear. Start at will.
0134. Okay, let's get all the pumps on. And let's start engine number 2. Okay, motoring 20%. I'm giving you the wing view there now. Okay, motoring 22, 23, 4, 5, fuel flow on.
Please set parking brakes.
Parking brake set.
Unlocking gear.
Roger. So you've got the wing view now. And we'll do that for the takeoff. I think for the landing it's nice to see the outside view though. Sometimes the inside view is pretty cool for the landing. Maybe I'll alternate it. For today we'll do the takeoff in the wing view, and for our next flight we'll do the landing with the wing view.
Tow truck disconnected. Bypass pin removed.
Roger.
Left is clear, right is clear.
Alright, let me have some coffee here before we get going. Alright, engine 2 started, engine number 1 start. Thank you, sir. Motoring N2 is 20.8. %. Fuel flow on. again, just so you can see where we are. At the bottom there, we're facing west, and we're going to basically go up taxiway Alpha all the way to holding point Alpha 1. Here you can see the engine coming up to speed. When N2 comes up to 63%, we'll get starter cut out. (52, 53, 54). Still climbing. Nobody at Wellington other than our good selves. I really feel relaxed right now because no one's here. It's a Monday morning in well, actually nearly noon, I guess, in New Zealand. Okay, so we got 2 good engine starts, so let's get them on the bus. Get the packs on, and let's turn off the dual bleeds and cut off the APU. Go through our checks. Crossfeed, bright, dim, and turn it off bright, off. Short flight today, we don't need our center tanks. Got all the fuel pumps on. We'll turn on the taxi lights, and we'll put the probe switches on, electrics on, engine start switches to continuous. Moving over, we've got the landing altitude already set. Cruise alt is flight level 340, but we're climbing initially to 10,000. Okay, I think we're set on that front. All right, flaps to 5. And fuel flow reset. Minimize the engine view, and we will check our controls. Full left, full right, forward, back, right, left. Okay, it all checks out. All right, so we ran the virtual performance tool. I was expecting some kind of adjustment due to a relatively short runway, but you know, we've got 176 packs on board, so the Bonza is configured to take more than that, but we're about like a dozen seats empty. But it's still shorter runway, only 5,955 feet, but we're still able to do a double re-rate. I'm going to trust the system. Hopefully we're not going to get into any trouble. So where are you to taxi? Wellington traffic, Bonza 838 out of stand 17 is taxiing now to holding point runway 16 via Bravo 6 and Alpha 1 holding point runway 16 Wellington traffic. Okay guys, Victor, you all set? Parking brake off. Taxi is light on. So we'll just quietly roll on. How's that wing view looking? Is the zoom level for that right?
approaching 3, 4.
Kind of eerie and quiet coming out of Wellington. Alright, so once we're airborne, we'll get a sense of the timing for our flight. But the airtime is about an hour. Oh, QNH is 1025 now. So we'll pause briefly at Alpha 1 to do our final setup for departure, and also to just double check on VatScope to see that there's no traffic in the area. This is Alpha 2, but we're going to go to Alpha 1. Okay, let's put on the brakes at Alpha 1. So first things first, let's get our landing lights on and get our strobe on. TCAS on TARA mode. And sure our displays look good. We'll put weather on our side and terrain on the first officer side. Okay, let's check on the VatScope for traffic in the area. You can look at that too. We're taking off to the south, so it looks pretty clear. Pretty clear. You get a sense of the geography, where we're going to have our tail to the inland bay area, and we're taking off southward, and we're on the North Island now, but we'll be crossing over to the South Island, and hopefully we'll see some of that landscape out of your right window on the way out. Okay, so I'm going to put my standard instrument departure up. Not very complicated. We climb initially to 10,000, and then we'll go up from there to our cruise out flight level 340. Okay, I think we're set. Wellington traffic, Bonza 838 at holding point runway 16, now lining up for immediate departure on the ATVEV 1 Quebec departure for Queenstown. Wellington traffic. Parking brakes off. Takeoff checklist, flaps are set and trim has been set. Takeoff checklist completed. So you get a peek out of your window of the bay side the airport.
On runway 16.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my throttle up to 40% with my brakes on, just because of the short runway, but we should be ready to go. All right, Victor, you all set? All set. Let's give ourselves a little bit more range here. Okay, throttle's up, 40%. All right, stabilize, Togo. Release forward pressure. V1. Rotate.
3,000 remaining.
Positive rate. Gear up. Yeah, I can see how we could have made that. No worries. Wellington traffic, Bonza 838 is airborne, passing 800 for 10,000. Command 8. Flaps 1. Flaps up. Hey Lee, how are you doing? Welcome aboard. Yep, should be a good one. Stay for the landing, that's the exciting part. How do you like this configuration with the outside view? Welcome aboard. Subscribe if you haven't. I'm trying to get to my 500. We're halfway there. Okay, we're passing flight level of 3,600 for 10,000, and we're flaps up. Okay, after takeoff checklist. After takeoff checklist, engine bleeds are on, and PEX are on auto. Landing gear is up, and flaps up, no lights. After takeoff checklist completed. Okay, let's continue our climb to flight level 340, final cruise. All right, 340 set. Wellington traffic, Bonza 838, now climbing through 6,000 feet for final cruise, flight level 340, final call, Wellington traffic. Okay, let us do, feel free to fire away any questions, Lee, if you have any. Otherwise, enjoy the flight. We're over the water now, and we should be over the South Island in not much time. So cheers, thanks for joining. All right, folks, so it's looking like, oh, we needed to do our fuel check. Let me do the fuel check first. AdVev was 5.4. AdVev, let's get to it. 5.4, so we get a good baseline. We're about 300 kilograms extra fuel compared to the plan at this point. There we are progressing southwesterly. And we should, I can see, yeah, you can already see bits of the South Island now, out of the front view and also out of the side view, I think. Okay, we can let folks out of their seats. And engine starts to auto. Kind of like a bit of a hazy day out there. Okay, looking at the timing, we've got 339 miles to go. Right here, 339, and we should arrive by 2:50 Zulu, and it's 1:54. So in about 55 minutes, we should be in Queenstown. Nice short flight, but it gives us a little bit of extra work to prepare for the arrival, which I'm going to start doing while we're still climbing. So let's just check in to Queenstown. And Queenstown, there's no 80s at the moment. Mentor is winds at 220. So yeah, so it's still favoring runway 23, which is what we're going to do. Alright, so we can do some preliminary setup. We're already set up for, let me see if you can get this, yeah. So we're set for NZQN here, which is Queenstown, runway 23, 6,204 feet long, 1,891 meters long. What we need is a course, and it's kind of interesting, it didn't give that here. So we just need to look at the chart. The chart is 233, so 233 degrees. It's an RNAV approach, so we don't have an ILS frequency to plug in. Set. Okay, we're passing flight level 180. Yeah, beautiful landscape there. Join late, we're flying Bonza today. In a simulator, the airline never died. So I'm already set up for the arrival. I've anticipated runway 23, so we're set up for RNAV Zulu, runway 23 in Queenstown. See if I can get a wider view of how this. There we are. It's probably nice to look at it this way. So here's here we are now, and we're climbing, and top of climb is here, and then top of descent is here. So top of descent, what is that waypoint that it's near? It's not Sunar, it's UPNIX. So UPNIX is We should be there by 2:27. So not long at all, right? About 30 minutes at the top of climb. So that's all the South Island now. You're looking out of your window. It's like not a soul. Oh, Air New Zealand flight 542 was flying from Christchurch to Auckland. They passed us just a couple of minutes ago to our right side, but it was far away, so you wouldn't have been able to see them. And looking at Queenstown right now, there's 2 aircraft that are arriving, but I don't see where the other one is. Oh, okay, in New Zealand. No, that's going to Nelson. So I'm not sure where the second. Where's that second aircraft? Let's see where it is. Oh, it's coming from Melbourne. YMML. But I don't see it over the water, so that's probably going to be a lot later than we get there. So we're clear. Very easy time, hopefully, so that we can focus on the actual procedures for ourselves. All right, we're climbing through flight level 267 now. Still targeting flight level 340. And let's take a look at the gauges. Okay, duct pressure around 40, that's okay. And temperature in the cabin is about 21 degrees, which is also fine. Cabin altitude 6,000 feet and diff pressure around 7. And we've got a very slight cabin climb, which is to be expected. Fuel temperature, let's see, 10, 12, 13 degrees centigrade. Outside temperatures indicating 18 degrees, minus 18 degrees centigrade. So we're all good, and we've got 4,800 kilograms of fuel, which is plenty. We should be arriving with most of that. It looks like no precip in the air at all, just a little bit of haze. So if the cabin crew offer you some refreshment, it's going to be very quickly. As soon as we get to our cruise out, which is very soon, and there'll be an announcement. But take advantage of it, whatever they give you, offer you, because you're going to be locked into your seats again shortly afterwards for the arrivals, and you don't want to miss that. That'll be a lot of fun. I think a wing view for that is out of the window views for that is very nice. All right. see what that looks like full size. There you go. So our simulator, the scenery is P3D. Unfortunately, my aviation software that drives the cockpit is Sim-Avionics, and it doesn't support Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 at this point. But yeah, you get a good sense of the terrain out there. Getting close. I want to show you this view so you can watch as we get closer to our cruise out. You'll see the throttles pulling back. You'll see the trend vector that's climbing, leveling out for the magenta cruise out. Here we go. That's the warning that we're approaching our cruise altitude. We're now passing flight level 332 for 340. We're gonna start leveling out, throttling back, and settling into the cruise. So we're technically 3.6 or 2.9 miles from the top of climb. There's sometimes a little bit of fluctuation in this distance, but it's kind of, here we go, 2.2 miles away.
Ladies and gentlemen, the flight attendants will shortly be making their way
Okay, here we
through
go,
the cabin
throttling
to
back.
various beverages of your choice. There will also be a
Trend
selection
vector
of
leveling out.
for purchase, and we can accept most credit cards, checks, and cash. If there's anything we can do to make your trip more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask.
Throttle's coming back, and fuel flow. Let's see. Fuel flow has also reduced. And you heard the PA announcement. Okay. So for this arrival, we have to be very careful about maintaining all the speed limits restrictions, because it is a winding approach, and we just want to be sure to not overspeed ourselves. And I'm taking a look at stepping through this, so you can see that or that. Okay, so the first waypoint, I think the arrivals is pretty straightforward. We can still review that as well. The arrivals, first waypoint is LRUV. So that's LRUV. And then the first restriction is at Pampu, flight level 150 or above. Okay, then it's ECVOX at 10,000 or above. But I'm gonna try to make us be at 10,000 at that point. So let's change that. So I don't want to be in difficulties for being low enough. So then the next restriction is at Quebec November 780. So we're already on the approach at this point. And 780. And at 780 we got to be at or above 8,600. That's indicated there as well in the top right corner of the plan. And then as we step forward, we're still at Togox, 8,600 and above. Quebec November 770 will be 7,500. And we gradually get lower. At Apexa, we're going to be at 4,200 or above. And then at that point, we should be getting to LRUV at or above 3,300. And at Lara, we should be able to start seeing the runway. And we come in. I'm probably going to go to manual around at that point, unless the AIN is behaving. IAN is behaving. So runway 23, I've already set up rings for that. So as usual, the rings are 4 miles, 10 miles, and 20 miles. 20 miles, thinking about flaps 1, and then between 10 miles and 4 miles, we're getting fully configured for the landing, so that by 4 miles we can do our landing checklist and bring us into the airfield. All right, reviewed and done. We just got to do a fuel check and then set up for our landing configuration. I can leave you in peace while I work that out. Set 5.1. Yep. What's next? MESIX. 4.5 at MESIX. Okay, it really looks like we're going to be about 300 kilos over. Okay, MESIX coming up. Still looking like 4.5 at MESIX. We're going to be banking to the right at MESIX. And then the next waypoint is actually Christchurch. So we'll be overland within 40 miles from now. Okay, MESIX 4.5. So let's just go with that. Expect 4.5. 300 pounds over. So let's assume auto brakes 3. We'll probably use more than that. Auto brakes 3 and 300 kilos over, which would be a landing weight of 65.9. So let's punch that in. 69. Sorry, wrong. Let's clear that. 65.9. 65.9. Okay, so that is the plan. So let's do the same with our calculator. Electronic flight bag, and we'll set up for our landing en route. NZQN. What's our runway? Runway 23. And we'll assume the gradient is 0. Let's pull in the latest weather. And landing weight is going to be, like we said, 65.9. Okay, we calculate additive value. Whatever we get as a landing weight, we're going to add 7 knots to it based on current data. Okay, so let's see what we get. Yeah, so we want max auto and then with some manual as well. Okay. Okay, so let's put it on max. But maybe we need flaps 40. Let's run it again using flaps 40. I think that's what we probably end up doing. Flaps 40 and max auto. Even though we're not quite full, it's pretty full flight, 176 passengers. Yeah, so let's do that. Max auto, flaps 40. And additive of 7 knots. Alright, and we need to fix that here. So 65.9 and flaps 40. So with flaps 40, we're going to have a landing speed of 141 knots, plus 7 will be 148. Okay, folks. So we are about 10 miles from Christchurch, although you can't see it because we're going right over it. Let's find you a map view. There we are, coming over the top of Christchurch now. Okay, enjoy the view while you get it. Our top of descent is in 88 miles. Which we should be at in about 13 minutes. Shortly after that, we'll be putting you back in your seats, putting the seatbelt signs on, rather. Somebody's getting static.
New Zealand 542 getting through flight number 310 for the Daisy 7 arrival flying actually. Freshman will verify that.
Yeah, the South Island is considerably more has a considerably more exaggerated terrain than the North Island. Very spectacular. I'm into photography, and I remember one of the reviewers that I follow lived in Queenstown for a while, and he took amazing pictures, and he'd often do reviews right where there was an amazing view of the lake in Queenstown, and the ferry in the lake, and he'd demonstrate zoom lenses by zooming into them. It's a beautiful area. I have not been to New Zealand, but it's on my bucket list for sure. Okay, so let's take a look at what altitude we're going to come down to as an initial. It looks like at Pampu we need to be at or above flight level 150, so I think that's what we'll dial in there for that when we get a little bit closer. We'll do one or two more fuel checks just to make sure we've got the right setup for our landing, like right weights. But we are pretty much maxing out. Flaps 40 and auto brakes max, possibly with some manual braking as well. So we're going to try to get off at Alpha 3 or Alpha 4 without having to go to the end of the runway and backtracking. So if we're still zipping along, as we get towards that, we're going to be applying some pretty good manual braking. So Alpha 4, Alpha 5, exit. To the left. And then I think we're in parking bay 4. And let's just take a look at that approach again. I have to set our minimums. And the minimums minimum's 2,718 feet, and that's really because, oops, sorry, is it 025? 2,718. Glad I checked that. That's a lot of dialing to do here. That's 1,000. That's 2,718. So we'll round it off to 2,720. One more check on our QNH. 1018. Quite a bit different than Queenstown, than Wellington. 1018. Check. 1018. Check. Adarsh, how are you? Welcome aboard again. 2 flights in a row. That's awesome. How are you doing today? It's an exciting approach today. We are flying into Queenstown, which has a very dramatic approach procedure, which you can see right here. Look at that, all that winding. And high altitude mountains all around. I'm giving you a nice outside view of the terrain because it's just awesome. But welcome aboard. Nice to see you again. Okay. We had a fuel check at Kuput. It's 4.2. Let's see how we're tracking with that. 4.2. Kuput. Okay. We're still within 300. 4.2. 300 kilos of our plane. So we're all set up correctly. Alright, so anybody have a preference? Do you want to see an outside aircraft view for the landing, or do you want to have a wing view? I think what I said before was I was going to give you an outside view. I'm going to need to think about setting up for that, so it's up to you guys. We are flying Bonza. So let's stick with my plan, which was we'll do an outside aircraft view for the landing. We took a wing view for the takeoff. So for the landing, we'll do the outside aircraft view. So let me see if I can get it. And that's our Bonza aircraft. It's actually one of my favorite liveries, Bonza. The airline is no longer in existing. Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing very great. I'm trying to get a couple of flights in the next couple of days, because then I've got to dismantle my camera equipment, and a friend of the family asked me to do some video of their kid's wedding, so I'm going to try that, but I got to use one of my cameras for my sim. So probably I'm going to try to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at least get 2 more flights in by the end of Wednesday. And then I'll probably be offline until Sunday, and maybe do a flight on Sunday. So how do you like that Bonza livery? Amazing, right? I love it. This actually has got the registration number for the first Bonza aircraft. Shaza, the name is Shaza. And it was the first aircraft, and they had up to, I think, four aircraft flying. And then earlier this year they folded after just over, like, it was something like 15 months in operation. But then again, you can see, yeah, how does an airline, I'm gonna dial this down to 15,000 feet. How does an airline make money with brand new MAX aircraft and then having budget prices? Very difficult to imagine. Unicom traffic, Bonza 838 is approaching our top of descent into Queenstown. We're 15 miles from top of descent, and we are expecting our arrivals into Queenstown will be LRUB 5 Bravo with an approach RNAV Zulu approach runway 23. Expected time of arrival is 0252 Zulu, Unicom traffic. Okay, top of descent is approaching. So Bonza Airlines is a budget airline, so they've maxed out on their seats. I think it's 189 seats on this 737 MAX 8. But today we're flying with 174 passengers, so we got about 15, if my math is right, 15 empty seats today. How's my audio today? My last flight, the setup was pretty good, I think, but the ambient sound was not so good. So I increased the volume of the ambient sound, so the cockpit sounds and the engines and all that. But I left my voice levels at the same level as the flight. Was it yesterday or the last flight anyway? Where did we fly last? One bleeds into the other. I just don't remember. Oh, I know what we did. Yeah, it was a VATSIM event. We flew from Kuala Lumpur to Ho Chi Minh City. That was a great flight. Good ATC all the way. I enjoyed that very much, and I was greeted by some of the controllers who recognized me as a YouTuber. So that was nice too. Good set of folks in that area. I'll always fly if they have an event and if I'm available. Okay, so we're descending now. Let's do our descent checklist. Pressurization landing altitude has been set. Recall checked. Auto brakes has been set to max. Landing data. We have flaps 40, 141 plus 7, 148 for the landing. Approach briefing has been completed. Descent checklist complete. So again, we'll be on the ground at 2:52. It's 2:29 now. So in about 13 minutes? No, is that right? 2:30, 22 minutes, 23 minutes. There you go. Doesn't seem possible. It's a pretty hairy arrival. I have done it a few times before, but I'm always like a little bit freaked out over it, just because it's not an ILS approach and it's kind of windy. I usually have to disconnect from the autopilot while we're still winding down to the level of the touchdown area. But I just have to stay focused on maintaining speeds and not going over speed. Let's put the data on now. Can you see the vertical speed of the aircraft? Yeah, okay, well you can see here. You can see right here. 2,300 feet per minute is what our descent is right now. Descent rate. Okay, and our altitude mode control panel altitude is currently set to the restriction at Pampu, which is at or above 15,000 feet. But as we get closer, we'll move it down according to the later locations. Now I remember I wanted to be at a certain speed by, yeah, I'm going to try to be at minimum no flap speed at kill, so that's going to be around 210 knots, a little slower than what the FMC says. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. Queenstown traffic, good evening, Bonza. 838 is descending now to Queenstown. Expected time of arrival is 0252 Zulu, expecting runway 23 and an LREV 5 Bravo arrival with RNAV Zulu runway 23 approach. Again, we should be on the ground by 0252 Zulu, Queenstown traffic. So about the vertical speed, you know, I also always end up the flight after parking and letting the passengers out, letting you guys know what my landing feet per minute was. Now it is indicated on the primary flight display, but usually at the time of touchdown you're more focused on the actual landing. But the data is collected in smart cars, and I can usually pull up the smart cars interface after we've landed and parked, and I can tell you from that information what my landing rate was. So I'm going to be trying to do better than under 200, or even better would be around 100 to 150 or less. This particular airfield, the job is to get it down at the touchdown zone. Otherwise you risk going long, and I think at some point when you go long here, you're going into the water at the other end. So it's more important to make sure you try to hit that touchdown zone, and even if it's a little bit of a rougher landing. Okay, let's dial it down to the next restriction, which is going to be at ECVOX 10,000 feet. So you can see from the Navigraph view, we're just about to get into the green area of our flight path, which is the arrival procedure, the LRAV 5 Bravo. It's just pretty much a straight line to join to the approach, where that's got all the exciting snaky stuff. Going to take a peek at VatScope, and really there's nobody else around, so although somebody is doing it, okay, let me see, nope, there's nobody on the ground, so we don't have any worry about traffic being a factor for our approach into the airfield. Pretty amazing terrain, right? I would call those blue mountains. I think it's, I'm not sure if it, does it look like blue to you? In my sim it's more of a duller green appearance. Okay. Get seatbelts on. I'm gonna do one thing. I'm switching off the terrain inhibit because it's gonna make some alerts, because it is a very exaggerated terrain, and sometimes even though you're doing a normal approach, it gets a little bit yeah, you see a mountain straight ahead of you, it's going to start alerting, but the path is actually going to turn down a valley, so I don't want to get any false alarms. I'll just be very vigilant to monitor the terrain. I might actually put the terrain on this side. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put the terrain on this side and the weather on that side. So now you're going to see some terrain on this view. Yeah, there's no ATC today. No ATC. So we're just announcing what we're doing. And let's pull in this range a little bit. And let's keep dialing this down. I'm just going to get this to an altitude a few waypoints down at whoop 6,700. Let's put it there for now. Yeah, no ATC voices. I'm the only voice, and I'm just notifying where we are. So in this view, you can really see the terrain radar here. Here we are right now, and you can see all the terrain down here.
Devices could interfere with the electronic landing equipment on board the aircraft. In final preparation for landing, please ensure your seatbelts are securely fastened, your seat backs are in the upright position, and your tray tables are stowed. Any hand luggage should be underneath the seat in front of you or placed in the overhead locker. The flight attendants will be passing through the cabin one last time to complete their final compliance check and to collect any remaining caps or glasses.
Standard, let's just check if it's still current. 1018, yes. Okay, Pampu, we had 3.9. Let's just check that. Okay, I think we're good. We're slowing down. We're going to try to be at 210 by at Voop. Yeah. At Voop, we want to be 210. Okay. Just to be prepared, I'm putting my engine start switches to continuous now. I'm going to go ahead and do a speed intervent and just slow down now to 220 knots. We're about 28 miles from the airfield and about 8 minutes from our touchdown. We also have a missed approach for this approach, which is 10,000 feet, so we're going to have to reset that MCP altitude. Queenstown traffic. Bonza 838 reporting in again, passing through 8,200 for 3,300. And we are currently inbound waypoint Quebec November 770, not 1 mile. Queenstown traffic. Okay, so that's 20 miles, that's 10 miles. So let's go for a flaps 1, speed check, flaps 1, flaps 1. Get all lights on. All right, let's think about flaps 5. Flaps 5, speed check, flaps 5. Remember, we got to do +7 for the approach. Down to 180 knots. Okay, very nice. See all the terrain around us, right? Okay, we're now in the 10 band, so we can start thinking about gear down now from flaps 5, gear down. And we want flaps 15, speed check, 200 knots, flaps 15. Dial this down. Okay, and that's the value we're going to round. So next is going to be flaps 30. Flaps 30, speed check 175. Flaps 30. We can do that now. Final flaps is going to be flaps 40. We need to be below 162 knots to go to flaps 40. And yeah, we can do that now. Flaps 40. And our final setting should be 148 knots. Okay, we're all set now. Okay, landing checklist. Landing checklist. Engine start switches to continuous. Speed brakes are armed. Okay, landing gear is down and flaps are set and green. Landing checklist complete. Okay, we got the airfield in sight. So okay, we are going to go on to autopilot now. No, autopilot off. Autopilot off. And we really should wind this up to 10,000 feet. But I need to focus landing, focus on getting down to the airfield. 10,000 feet. Already gone too far. Okay, folks. We got autopilot disengaged, but we have our auto throttles still engaged. So it's going to try to maintain our flight level, sorry, our thrust level to maintain the 148 knots.
1,000.
Okay, a little bit high. Okay, there we go. Let's try to maintain. Two whites, two reds on the babbies.
Approaching 2, 3.
And we get 3 reds. We'll try to nail that landing zone. Oh, we got too many reds. Okay, auto throttle disconnect.
300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
All right, full reversers. Let's put some manual braking on there.
3,000 remaining. Approaching
60 knots.
1.
Manual
Ladies
braking.
and gentlemen, it will take the captain a few moments to taxi
All right.
today, and we ask that you remain seated with your seatbelt securely fastened until the seatbelt
made
sign
it.
has been turned off and the aircraft comes to a complete stop at the gate. That will be the only indication that it is safe to get up and move about the cabin.
All
We
right.
also ask that you keep the aisle clear of any hand
If
luggage.
we're supposed to take
This is
parking
the
bay
termination of
4.
our flight, so we ask that you check the seatback pockets and overhead lockers for any articles you may have brought with you. Extra care should be taken when opening overhead lockers, as some items may have shifted during our flight.
And I think this
On
is
behalf
4
of the
right
captain
here.
and his crew, we would like to thank you for flying with us and wish you
I
all a
didn't-
pleasant stay. Thank you.
Queenstown traffic, Bonza 838 has landed and vacated at Alpha 4, heading for Bay 4. Queenstown traffic. APU is still starting up, so we can't shut down the engines immediately. Okay. Here's our marshaller, and we'll turn the taxi light off so we don't blind him. Strobes off. Well guys, welcome to Queenstown. That was not so bad. I think it might have been a heavy landing, but we didn't quite get down on the main touchdown zone, but we were within the touchdown zone area. Okay, let's park it right there. Parked at 253. 0253. APU's on the bus. Get the bleed air on, and we can shut down the engines. Call up some ground power. Boy, those guys are quick. Turn that ground power on. Ground power is on. APU bleed is off, and fuel pumps off. So we'll let folks out of their seats and request deboarding. Oops.
The boarding requested.
So it's going to be a bus coming, I think. So was that okay? Was that an okay landing? Yeah, I always am somewhat critical of myself for landings because I don't think that was a perfect landing. but it is what it is. Okay, we're just shutting everything off. We're actually overnighting in Queenstown today. So enjoy your stay here while you're here with us.
Passenger's bus is coming.
Passenger's bus is coming. Okay, that's awesome. And your damper off. Okay, that's most of the stuff off. Let's turn the flight directors off. We usually reset the altitude to 10,000 and the speed to 100. Just as a matter of course, flight directors are off. Okay, transponder should be on TA mode, not TARA. Weather and radar off, terrain off. I'm going to put back that terrain inhibit back on for the future. Captain can make a decision whether he wants that or not. Alright, well, hope that was enjoyable for you guys. The passengers are, there's a view from the outside here. I think maybe the packs are disembarking from this side. Here we go. There's the bus and there's the aircraft. Okay. And that's the view from the tower. That's a nice view actually. And there's the wing view. Okay. So, big $64 million question is, what was my landing rate? Well, it says you could not log. I'm sure it's going to. Touchdown at minus 182 feet per minute. Well, it was under 200. And for Queenstown, under 200 is good. My last flight was, where was it? It was to Tan Son Hat in Vietnam, and that was a much better, bigger runway, and I had like minus 200 and something landing rate. So I'll take this minus 182. Okay, not too shabby, I think. Okay, now we'll do the set times. I always like to record the set times. So we were off blocks in Wellington at 1:42, and although that's not accurate, my pushback recorded was 1:34, but the takeoff is accurate. 1:49, and landing was at 0250. Elapsed time was 1 hour. 1 hour and 54 seconds. What we expected was about an hour. So fuel remaining was 3,624 kgs. So here we are. Okay. What can I say? I'm satisfied with that flight. Looking forward to reviewing the video. So guys, we are on the way to getting our number. I'm trying to get 500 subscribers by the end of the year. We're in September now. We're halfway there. I think I've got about 249 or 250, something like that. And you know, anything you can do to spread the word, send a link to my page and ask folks that might be interested to subscribe. Hit the notify button or bell, because like for this flight, I did announce that I was going to be doing this flight today. So I put out a diagram of the approach plate into Queenstown. So it's, you know, it gives you a little bit more of a heads up than just my stream going live. It does. But anyhow, so maybe we can all try to get me to 500 subscribers just as a goal. I'm not in it for anything but the pride to share the fun of the flight sim with the community. So anyway, great flight. Glad you guys came along. Oh, okay. Hey, pitch your role. Awesome. Hey, thanks for joining. Did you join the flight? Oh, you can't wait for the iFly Max. Oh yeah, I know. It's awesome, man. Hey, did you see my new view? Did you see my new view? This one? Got a new camera set up for this view. And for this kind of a windy approach, this view is really nice. But anyway, so we are Bonza, maybe my favorite livery, even though I claim to be United and also Malaysian Airlines. And anyway, good to see you. And we'll catch you on the next one. Like I said, over the next 3 days, I want to do at least 2 flights. So look out for the notification on the community tab on my page. Just look for Paul, K-I-A-D, Paul space K-I-A-D. That's my handle for YouTube. And look forward to seeing you guys again and all the rest of you who might have an interest. So anyway, enjoy your stay in Queenstown. Don't know when we'll be departing Queenstown again, but maybe we'll do a flight back to Wellington. That's also fun. I have scenery for Queenstown, Wellington, Auckland, and also Christchurch. So there's a number of different routings we can do. But the ones in the South Island have the spectacular scenery. Wellington is interesting. It's like on a little bit of a peninsula, and so there's water on either side, either end of the runway, which is also kind of interesting. So don't know when the next flight will be. We'll see you later. Pitch your roll and catch you all later. Thanks for coming along. Ciao for now.